Today we're going to get deep into the best practices for the SI belt if you're going to use one. There's many different types of belts, and I've actually used 3 different types personally for my own SI joint pain and problems that I had for years. My name is Dr. Ryan Peebles. I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life to better understanding and reversing the root causes of chronic lower back pain. By the way, I do not have SI joint pain or problems anymore, so if you do, just have hope, because it's very possible to get out of the cycle, and that's coming from someone who had SI pain for years. Serious struggles with my SI joints, and now they are stabilized, and you can do that too. And my goal for today is to pack as much helpful information as I possibly can that will be the most helpful thing for you if you're in this situation. These joints get to be loose, unstable, or hypermobile, and the ligaments are getting stretched out. It's kind of like a sprain where they're constantly moving and shifting on each other, and it causes a lot of pain. So if you can imagine, strapping that belt around your pelvis just stabilizes it, holds it together, and it can be extremely effective, or it can worsen the pain, and we'll talk about why. Number one, you have to have in your mind that an SI belt is temporary only. You should not just slap it on and use it for the rest of your life. You're going to create serious problems because the muscles that stabilize your pelvis will be able to just shut off, and you become dependent on the belt, and that's not a good idea. So temporary only, and you will wean yourself off of the belt and only use it at appropriate times. The stages: 1, all the time except when you're sitting symmetrically or sleeping on your back. Next stage, start taking it off also when you're just doing something really light or kind of symmetrical. Third stage, you can start taking it off walking, doing normal activities. Only wear it when you're doing stressful activities. And then stage 4 would be taking the belt off all the time, and the stability that you developed in your body through core balance now doing what the SI belt did. So the first thing you want to do before you use an SI belt is set your joints. You don't just want to throw the belt on, because if the joints are out of alignment, you want to set them first and then stabilize them with the belt. You can do it in 2 different ways. Put something between your knees, put like a ball between my knees right here, and squeeze my knees together. If my SI joint is out of alignment, I'll get a loud pop. It'll be the joints going back into alignment. That's not my favorite way. My favorite way to set the joints is to do the bridge properly. I can't just tell everyone to do the bridge, because it's probably one of the most wrongly done exercises that I know of, but I do recommend using your glutes to set the SI joints. Just squeeze your butt as hard as you can. You can even do it in standing, and that will help pull them back into alignment. So set the joints, then you can put the belt on, and placement is everything. So you would want to put the top of the belt below your ASIS, both of them. There's one on each side. These prominent bony points that you can feel, if you just feel your own waist, the front of your waist, the most prominent bony point is the ASIS. You can actually just line the top of the belt up with that point, and it can actually go underneath your clothing, so it can be totally hidden, and that's the way I wore it. But if it goes underneath your clothing, then you're going to have a potential issue with your skin needing to breathe, and so we're going to talk about timing. That's bullet point number 4. So I have 2 different belts here. I used this one the most. It is the most narrow, the least cumbersome. It's meant to go on your skin. It actually has a grip so it doesn't slip up and down, because that can be an issue, especially if it's on your clothing. And I have used this one as well. This one really lets the skin breathe really well, but it's a little more cumbersome, and it can slip a little bit because it doesn't have that grippy stuff that this one does. So this belt was really good at staying in place, but the problem is when your skin does not breathe, that creates problems. So you want to have the timing of when you take the belt off be strategic, because if you're stabilizing something, you're doing really well, you do it great for a week, and then you take the belt off and you go do one wrong thing, that'll set you back the whole week, the whole progress you made. So you got to kind of be perfect and let the body heal enough, and then wean yourself off the belt. And the times when you take the belt off to wean off or to let your skin breathe are important. It's a thing that you want to do strategically, and those times are ideally when you're sitting symmetrically, sitting on both sit bones. The SI joint is kind of a keystone shape. The sacrum sits between the 2 pelvises like a keystone. It's actually wedge shaped. If you know what a keystone is, like the top of an archway, it's the strongest point, and it won't go anywhere. So it's very stable by structure. And if you are sitting symmetrically on your pelvis and both sit bones, it is the most stable position. And so you can take the belt off when you're sitting symmetrically and not worry that you're going to cause any problems. So anytime you're sitting, it is a good opportunity to let your skin breathe and take the belt off. If you're sleeping in a good position, you can also take the SI belt off while you're sleeping, and that's a great time to let the skin breathe. You know, in the beginning, if you're having a serious flare-up with SI pain, you kind of want to wear the belt all other times. But as you wean off, you want to take the belt off anytime you're doing things that are pretty symmetrical, like standing. Light activity would be the next step to start taking the belt off. And then the next step after that would be only wear the belt when you're doing like kind of extreme activities, like exercise, where you're maybe not doing a symmetrical activity. So you just want to stabilize the joint only when you're going to be stressing it. And so that would be the last stage of weaning off the belt. And then the best thing you can do is gradually over time bring your body back into balance, because it's not necessarily just a strength thing that causes the problem. It is a combination of the interplay of your muscles pulling on the joints at different times, and an imbalance in the pulling and the repetitive trauma is often the cause. By gradually bringing your body back into balance over time, over a period of months, is the best thing you can do for not just your SI joint, but your knees and your hips and your shoulders and your neck, and of course your lower back as well. So that protocol is all laid out for you in core balance training, and it really is what I believe is the best thing you can do. It's a long-term game, and all these tips are quick tips that can be really effective, but ultimately you want to look at this as a long-term game. Tips for sleeping. Number one, back sleeping is probably the best thing you can do for an SI joint, because if you can imagine, it's pretty symmetrical. Side sleeping is probably the worst thing you can do for an SI joint, because if you are sleeping on one side of your pelvis and the other side over the top, this is you sleeping sideways, there is a force that's going to be wanting to close that pelvis down, and it's opening the back of the pelvis. The bed or the mattress is pushing up here, and so that's closing down the front of the pelvis. And what's happening in the back? It's opening up this area that I showed in the beginning of the stream is what gets unstable. Side sleeping is really stressing the SI joints, especially on the side of the pain. So that would be one to avoid. Prone sleeping is okay, especially you can try putting a pillow under your very, very low abdomen. Put a nice medium-sized pillow there and really low down under your abdomen. That can take some stress off the joint. And then tips for sleeping with a flare-up. If you can't sleep on your back, because you just can't sleep that way and you're unable to sleep and you're always a side sleeper, I have a little trick that I use with people, and it seems to be pretty effective. It's the 3/4 sleeping position. So you can put a wedge under your back, or a pillow, and just kind of roll back onto it. So you're not fully side sleeping and you're not fully on your back. You're kind of 3/4 sleeping. And it seems to be pretty comfortable for people. Generally, people seem to like that position, and it's not putting that stress on the pelvis that side sleeping is. It's not closing down. You're kind of more on the flat surface of right here, this pancake right here, because this is at a 3/4 angle. You can see it's at a 45-degree angle. So you'd be kind of sleeping flat on this, and it's kind of a nice pressure to have. We're just going to reiterate the best thing you can do is gradually over time work towards bringing your body back into balance, and that way you can sleep in any position you want, just like this guy, and not have to worry. But that is only a long-term game, and it cannot happen by doing a little tip or trick. It happens by changing the relationship you have with your body and with your core, and developing a stronger relationship, a stronger connection to your core in everything that you do. That's what I believe, and I think that's what a lot of us believe that are students of core balance training. So if you found any of this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. Help spread the word that there is a solution to chronic lower back pain, chronic SI pain. It really does help out the channel to reach more people. And I believe with all my heart that people need this information. And so just by hitting that little like button or subscribing, it helps tell YouTube to show it to more people that are in need. So thank you very much.